Once the stakeholders approve your project plan, you need to save the approved schedule so you can compare actual progress with what you planned. In Project, a baseline can hold a snapshot of your approved schedule. To save a baseline, we're going to head to the Project tab. Then in the Schedule section, click Set Baseline, and on the drop-down menu, choose Set Baseline. In the Set Baseline dialog box, when you're first saving a baseline, all the options are set the way you want. We're going to save to the baseline called simply Baseline. But if I click the down arrow, there are actually 11 baselines you can save. We're just going to choose the first one. It also sets up to save the entire project. So all I have to do is click OK. Now, it doesn't really look like it did anything. However, if we go back up and click Set Baseline again and choose Set Baseline, notice that now in the Set Baseline dialog box, you can see the date when the baseline was saved, so you know that this one has been used. I'm going to go ahead and click Cancel to close that dialog box. Now, the baseline saves values for things like start date, finish date, duration, work, and cost. And you can see these values in tables within Project. One of those tables is the variance table. I'm going to go to the View tab. In the Data section, I'm going to click the Tables button, and then on the drop-down menu, choose Variance. This table focuses on dates. So I can see my planned start and finish dates, baseline start and finish dates, and the start and finish variance. Those are the differences between your baseline and what's going on now. Now, of course, I just saved this baseline, so the dates are all the same and the variances are 0. But as your project gets underway, that's going to change. And that's how you save your approved schedule in a project baseline. When the team starts work on their assignments, it's time for you to start updating actual values in Project. I'll show you a couple of simple ways to update progress. Now, first of all, in this example, I'm going to update tasks, not assignments. That way we have fewer updates to do. We're going to use the tracking table. So I'm going to go to the View tab, click the Tables button in the Data section, and then choose Tracking. This table has several fields for actual values, like start and finish, duration, remaining duration, and so on. Before we add our updates, we also have to set the status date. That's the date that work is done through, for example, like a Friday. To do that, I'm going to go to the Project tab. In the Status section over on the right, I'm going to click the button with the calendar icon. That opens up the status date dialog box, and I'm going to put in my status date. So let's say it's April 23rd, 2021, and I'll click OK. Now you can see your status date up in the ribbon. Now we're ready to update some tasks. I'm going to go to the Task tab. We're going to start with Task 2, Review Design. So I select that, and then up on the Task tab, in the Schedule section, I'm going to click the down arrow next to Mark on Track and choose Update Tasks. That opens up the Update Tasks dialog box, and it has information about the selected task. So I can fill in things like actual duration, remaining duration, and dates. Well, let's say this task is complete, and it ran pretty much the way it was supposed to. So I'm going to put in 1 day for actual duration. It's done, so 0 days for remaining duration. It started on the day it was supposed to, so I don't even have to fill in the actual dates. I just click OK. And Project will use those scheduled dates to fill in actual start and finish. Now we're going to go to Task 3, Purchase MRI. This one took longer than planned, and it started a little late. So I've selected that. I'm going to go back up and click the down arrow next to Mark on Track and choose Update Tasks. The actual duration was 7 days compared to the 5 that were originally planned. Remaining duration is 0 days, but I also have to fill in the start date. That was April 14th, 2021, and then I click OK. Project fills in the actual start and finish, and we've got our actual and remaining duration. For simple updates, you can also add values right in this table. And I'm going to do that for task 4. So let's say that the start date was April 23rd. I can click the actual start cell and put in the date and then press enter. The actual duration was 1 day, so I'm going to type that in and then press enter. Project calculates remaining duration. Because it was a 1-day task, there's 0 days left. One last update. We're going to update task 6, inspect equipment. The actual duration was 1 day, so I type that in and press enter. Well, project recalculates remaining duration to 0 days, but what if something happened and there's actually still 2 days left? Go ahead and update that in the table. I'll type in 2 days and press enter. When I do that, project calculates the actual start date, and the project is not yet done. So I'm going to scroll over to the right. Let's look at that taskbar. The scheduled duration is showing as a wide light blue taskbar. The progress on that task shows up as a narrow dark blue bar. So now you can see what's scheduled as well as what's done. Now we have actual work in this table. If you decide that you want to update work instead of duration, you can add remaining work to the table. To do that, click Add New Column and then start to type in the name of the field. And when you see it in the drop-down menu, Remaining Work, you click it to add it to the table. And there you have a few ways to record progress quickly. Over the life of a project, you'll need to look at different aspects of your schedule. Project comes with lots of views. Let's look at a few you'll use often and check out some ways you can change them. We're going to start with the Gantt chart. You'll use this a lot. On the left side, it has a table so you can see specific values about your tasks. On the right side, there's a time scale so you can see when tasks occur over time and how long they last. If you want to see an overview of your project, the timeline is great. So I'm going to go up to the ribbon and click the View tab, and then in the Split View section, turn on the Timeline checkbox. That opens up a panel up above the main view. Here I can see the start and finish dates for the project. But you can also add tasks and milestones to highlight key information about your project. For example, I'm going to select this task, and when I see the 4-headed arrow, I can just drag it up to the timeline. Or I can add a key milestone. I select it and drag that up to the timeline, and there you can see it as a callout. When you're ready to go back to detail, you can go up to the Split View section and turn off the Timeline checkbox. Now let's display a different view, in this case, task usage. So I'm going to click that on the View tab. It still has a table on the left, but on the right, there's a time-phased grid. To see how this works, I'm going to head over to the Task tab and then go to Scroll to Task on the right side. That's going to show me the values over time periods on the right-hand side in the time-phased grid. Now, task usage, because it has tasks with resource assignments, it's great for seeing how those assignments affect the tasks. You can see the summary rows for the tasks, but then you have other rows for each of the assignments. And on the right side, you can see how those hours or other values roll up. Now let's go back to the View tab, and this time I'm going to click Resource Usage. Now this view right now is filtered, so I'm going to remove the filter. In the Data section where it says Overallocated, I'm going to click the down arrow and choose No Filter. Now we can see that the Resource Usage view has summary rows for each resource and then has indented rows for each task assigned to that resource. And as you can see here, it's a great way to see how overallocations occur and what you might need to change to resolve them. Now I'm going to go and click the bottom half of the Gantt chart button. From the drop-down menu, I'm going to choose Tracking Gantt. This view still has a table on the left, and we're back to the time scale on the right. To see the taskbars, I'm going to go to the Task tab and once again click Scroll to Task. In the tracking Gantt, there are two sets of taskbars. The gray ones show the baseline schedule, whereas the blue and red ones show the current schedule. Because you have the baseline and the current schedule in view at the same time, you can see the differences between them and see that there are tasks that are delayed in this project. If you want to see detail about something you select in the top view, you can always display the detail pane. To do that, I'm going to go to the View tab and in the Split View section, turn on the Details checkbox. That way, when I select a task up in the top, I can see the information about it in the bottom. If you want to see other fields, you can right-click in the table and choose a different table to display. When you want to go back to your overall schedule, turn off the Details checkbox in the ribbon. You also might need to look at different fields like dates for the schedule, work for workloads, or maybe cost. So on the View tab, click Tables and then choose the table you want. Summary is a great overview because it has information like duration, dates, work, cost, and progress. Or I could click Tables again and choose a different table. Another way to choose a table is to go to the top left and right-click and then choose the table you want. Here in the tracking table, I have a lot of actual values. But let's say I wanted to add a column to this table for another field, like percent work complete. I can right-click a column heading and on the shortcut menu, choose Insert Column and then choose the column I want to insert it. That's a fast intro to views in Project and a few ways you can tweak them. Project's graphical reports show project information in easy-to-digest tables and graphs. Here are a few of the built-in reports that show you key info about your project. To get to reports, you go to the Report tab. The first category is Dashboards. When I click that, there are several different dashboards. I'm going to take a look at the Burn Down report. This has two graphs. One that shows the work status in the project, and the other one shows how many tasks have been completed. Now let's take a look at this work graph. There are three different lines. The gray line is for the baseline. This is how much work should have been done over time. The blue line is the current scheduled work, and the orange line shows the actual work. Because the orange line is up above the other lines, it means not as much work has been done as you had planned to get done, so the project is behind schedule. Now we're going to go back up to the Report tab and look at the next category, Resources. So I'm going to click that. There are two built-in reports. The Resource Overview report has a couple of graphs. The one shows the work status for each of the resources, and then this graph on the right shows the percent of the work done by the different resources. If I go back to the Report tab, click Resources again, and choose Overallocated Resources, I have one, and you can see the information about the actual and remaining work, but the graph on the right shows where the overallocations are in time. I'm going to go back up to the Report tab, and this time I'm going to go to the Cost category. Let's take a look at the Cash Flow report. Now this shows when money is spent in the project, but this is a short project, so right now the graph doesn't tell us a whole lot. I'm going to click the graph. When I do, a panel opens up on the right, and I can edit the time period that we look at. To do that, I'm going to click this Edit button to the right of where it says Time. In the Edit Timescale dialog box, I can click the down arrow and choose Weeks. And when I click OK, now you can see how much money was spent each week in the project. Let's go back up to the Report tab one more time, and this time I'm going to choose In Progress. There are a couple of different reports. I'm going to choose Slipping Tasks. This shows a graph on the left with information about the work that remains. The table on the right lists the tasks that are slipping, and that means that the finish date is later than the baseline finish date. That's a quick intro to built in reports about what's going on in your projects.